I held a silk ball throwing marriage contest, but it hit a beggar. Even though the one I liked was Scholar Lou. My father cares about his reputation, so I had no choice but to keep my word and let the beggar marry into my family. After marriage, I despised the beggar for being crude. All he had was a good-looking face. I took all my frustration out on him. I gave him a name, Chiu. I wouldn't let him touch me. In winter, I made him sleep in the woodshed. In summer, I made him sleep in the mill. If I was in a good mood during the day, I'd have him lie down on the ground. I'd step on paint and use his back as my canvas. Anyway, I humiliated him in every way I could. But he never cried, never made a scene, never got angry. He just let me bully him however I wanted. Later on, I even started to feel a little guilty. I thought I was just a rich and beautiful pervert. But that guilt only lasted about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. By midday, Scholar Lou rode by in front of my family's gates. I watched from a distance as he sat tall on his horse, with an impressive entourage of servants behind him. My anger flared up all over again. Why did I have to be given to a beggar? Why could other girls marry top scholars, like second-place Judinya? But I was stuck with a beggar who slept in the woodshed. I turned right around and went to find Chiyu, and kicked over the pile of firewood he had just finished chopping. I trampled all over his hours of hard work. He glanced at me, then bent down to pick up the scattered firewood, and stacked it all neatly again. I was furious. I grabbed my golden whip, ready to swing it at him again. Miss Ju, suddenly he spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it froze my hand in midair. You've already taken your anger out on Master Lu today. No need to unleash it again on you. I was stunned. How did he know? That I got mad because I ran into Lu Cheng's? He picked up the last piece of firewood, stood up straight and looked at me. You want to marry Lu Chengxiao? What does that have to do with you? I got angry out of embarrassment. I swung my whip at him. I put all my strength into it. The whip grazed his cheek, leaving a bloody mark. He didn't dodge. If Lu Cheng's had caught your silk ball that day, would you treat him like this, Miss Ju? Of course not. He's a scholar, a man of great talent. I blurted out, then stopped myself abruptly, because Chiyu smiled. It wasn't a mocking smile, nor a bitter one, but a very calm kind of smile, like autumn moonlight filtering over dead leaves, bearing an indescribable meaning. Scholar, he repeated the word, then turned and walked away. I stood there grasping my golden whip, a strange feeling suddenly stirring in my heart, like stepping on ice and feeling a crack underfoot. Everything changed a month later. I went out of town with my maid to burn incense. We were ambushed on the road by a group of bandits. Over 10 masked thugs jumped out from the woods. My maid fainted on the spot out of fear. I didn't even have time to react before a sack was thrown over me. The bandits were hiding on Mount Zijin. They locked me up in a filthy shack. The bandit leader was a fat man with a face full of scars. He gripped my chin and stared at me for quite a while, then smirked and said, "Zhou Guangtai's daughter is worth a lot of silver." I huddled in the corner, scared out of my mind, but still refusing to show weakness. If you so much as touch a hair on my head, my father will have your skin peeled off. Instead of getting mad, the bandit chief just grinned, pulled a porcelain bottle from his coat, poured out a pill, and shoved it into my mouth. What kind of stuff did you make me eat? He smiled even more hideously. You'll find out soon enough. Soon, my whole body felt like I was being burned alive. I curled up on the ground, my teeth chattering uncontrollably. Zhou Guangtai's daughter is worth a lot of silver. I huddled in the corner, scared out of my mind, but still refusing to show weakness. If you so much as touch a hair on my head, my father will have your skin peeled off. Instead of getting mad, the bandit chief just grinned, pulled a porcelain bottle from his coat, poured out a pill, and shoved it into my mouth. What kind of stuff did you make me eat? He smiled even more hideously. You'll find out soon enough. Soon, my whole body felt like I was being burned alive. I curled up on the ground, my teeth chattering violently. My mind grew fuzzy. At that moment, a sudden commotion came from outside. I heard the sound of horses' hooves screams, and blades hacking into flesh and bone. It all sounded so far away, yet also seemed right by my ear. Then that broken door was kicked off its hinges, spinning through the air, and crashing into the wall, shattering into pieces. Moonlight poured in from outside, spilling onto someone's figure. In his hand, he held a bloody long knife, clearly snatched from the bandits. Blood still dripped from the tip of the blade. His clothes were slashed open in several places, revealing torn, bleeding wounds on his body. Dazed as I was, I still recognized him. He strode inside and kicked the bandit leader to the ground, the knife pressed against the man's throat. He glanced back at me. Just one look and he understood something was wrong with me. "What did they make you take?" His voice changed abruptly, no longer flat and wooden as usual, but razor sharp, cold and hard as a blade. I couldn't speak, so I just shook my head. He lowered his head, searched the bandit chief and found the porcelain bottle, opened it and smelled the contents. His expression changed instantly. "Hawan powder." His words were as sharp as knives forced through clenched teeth. He slashed the bandit leader's throat, cutting him open. The man clutched his neck and collapsed to the ground. Chiu threw aside the knife, came over and picked me up from the floor. I nestled against his chest, smelling the heavy scent of blood on him, but my body couldn't help entwining itself around him. Barely conscious, I tugged at his collar. Kingly, and he suddenly called me by a different name. Not Miss Ju, but Tinglin. His voice sounded like it came from deep, deep within him, carrying something I'd never felt before. "Are you sure?" he asked me softly. By then I was barely conscious. That night, he saved me. The next morning, when I woke up, Chiu was already gone. I lay amidst the messy bedding, the morning sun coming through the broken window, spilling over me, leaving me with nowhere to hide. What a disgraceful thing I'd done. Was I really destined to be tied to a beggar forever? No, that's not right. Was I really destined to be tied to a beggar? No, that's not it. Suddenly something occurred to me. How did he know I was on Mount Zijin? He's just a beggar living in the woodshed. So how could he break into a bandit den all by himself? Killed dozens of bandits single-handedly to rescue me. As I was pondering, the door was pushed open. Chiu walked in carrying a bowl of hot porridge. He had changed into clean clothes. The wounds on his face had also been bandaged. He walked up to me, placed the porridge by the bedside, then took 2 steps back, standing very properly. "Miss Ju, have some porridge." Still that same dull, monotonous tone, as if the person who held me in his arms last night and called my name over and over wasn't him at all. In my anger, I knocked the porridge bowl to the floor. "Chiu, if you dare utter a single word about last night, I'll tear your mouth apart." He looked down at the broken bowl and spilled porridge on the floor. After a moment of silence, he said he wouldn't. Then he knelt down, picking up the broken porcelain pieces one by one. I watched his back as he knelt on the floor. Suddenly, I felt a sting in my nose. I couldn't tell if it was out of anger or something else. From then on, everything was different. The one who changed was me, not him. I would think of him when I opened my eyes, and miss him when I closed them. I used to make him live in the woodshed, being quite proud of my role as a spoiled, mean woman. Now I would quietly sneak over to see him. He slept very soundly, with steady breathing. Moonlight streamed in through the window lattice, reflecting on his face. His silhouette looked exceptionally handsome in the night. I peered through the doorway for a while. My heart felt like a trapped wild rabbit, thumping violently. Then I ran away in a fit of embarrassed rage. The next day, I deliberately picked a fight, scolding him harshly, giving him 3 lashes with my whip. He stood there, taking it without a word, not making a sound. I looked at the fresh welts on his arm. Suddenly, I couldn't bring myself to swing the golden whip again. I asked fiercely, "Why didn't you dodge?" He replied, "As long as Miss Ju is happy." Happy in my foot. I hurled the golden whip aside, turned around and ran. I rushed back to my bedroom and collapsed onto the bed, burying my face deep into the pillow. Tinglai, you're finished. It seems you've actually started to fall for him. This feeling is too dangerous. He's just a beggar. The Chiyu you picked up from the street. How could you fall for him? But when it comes to matters of the heart, one never truly has a choice. Yesterday, while he was chopping wood, he suddenly blurted out a sentence. Tomorrow is my birthday. I asked him, how old are you? He said 25. I asked what he wanted. He said he wanted nothing at all. Who cares what you want? That's what I said out loud, but I kept it firmly in my heart. Early this morning, I snuck into the kitchen to personally make a bowl of longevity noodles. In my 18 years of life, I had never set foot in a kitchen. Flour was flying everywhere in the room. The noodles were rolled out all crooked and cut into uneven thicknesses. The maidservants were terrified, thinking I had been possessed. I finished cooking the noodles, placed them in a food box, and ran excitedly toward the woodshed. I wanted to tell him he was going to be a father. The doctor came to check yesterday and said I was pregnant. I stroked my still flat belly, feeling both panicked and sweet inside. Little Chiyu, I called him in my heart. Little Chiyu. I wanted to give him a surprise. Just as I reached the woodshed, a row of men in black were standing solemnly outside, in black clothes and black armor, with long swords hanging from their waists. Standing so neatly they looked cut out of a painting. When they saw me, they drew their swords in unison. The cold light reflected on my face. Impudent commoner! How dare you not kneel before the prince? The food box in my hand nearly fell to the ground. The wooden door of the woodshed opened from the inside and Chiyu stepped out. It wasn't Chiyu. He was wearing coarse linen clothes. His hair was tied up casually, looking no different from yesterday or the day before. But the aura he radiated was that of a completely different person. He stood at the door, looking down at me from above. Miss Ju, he spoke. His voice no longer had its former dullness, but was as clear and cold as a mountain spring. My hands were trembling, not out of fear, but because I suddenly realized one thing. During these 3 years, it wasn't that he was unable to resist. It was that he chose not to. He was like a spectator, sitting below the stage watching my performance. You. Who exactly are you? My voice was trembling. He took a step forward, brushing past my side. A man in black immediately knelt, presenting a dark purple dragon robe. He reached out and put it on, as the coarse linen fell to the ground. I am Shao Jishi, the 9th son of the late emperor, brother to the current emperor, stranded among the commoners 3 years ago. I am grateful for Miss Ju's shelter and hospitality. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly, not out of dread, but because I suddenly remembered, while I was kneading dough in the kitchen this morning, what I was planning was, if he was willing to stay, I would treat him better. I wouldn't whip him anymore, nor make him sleep in the woodshed. I wanted to tell him, I'm with child. Wanted to tell him, I can't bear to let him go. But he said he is a prince. He has a betrothed princess, the granddaughter of the Duke of Zan, the most talented woman in Jinling, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. When I return to the prince's manor, I will have a letter of divorce sent to you. He vaulted onto his horse, his gaze passing over my head. Looking into the distance, Miss Ju, may we never meet again. The sound of hoofs rang out. He rode away in a cloud of dust with his men, holding the food box. I stood at the door of the woodshed, tears falling drop by drop into the bowl. The longevity noodles turned cold, and my heart turned cold with them. On the 3rd day after he left Jinling, something happened to my father. That day I was lying in bed in a daze. A maid came running in panic. Miss, something's wrong. The master was taken away from home. They say he's suspected of murdering a high-ranking official. I sat up abruptly, feeling a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. My father, Zhu Guangtai, the wealthiest man in Jinling, dealt in nothing but the grain business. How could he murder a high-ranking official? My mother and I rushed to the Ministry of Justice prison overnight. When I saw my father, I almost didn't recognize him. After not seeing him for half a month, my handsome father had become so thin he was unrecognizable. He sat on a pile of straw in prison clothes. Half his hair had turned white. Father. Tinglai. Father was framed. Someone planted the private seal of the chief of the Court of State Ceremonies into Father's study, along with several forged secret letters. Father didn't do it. Beside him, my mother was crying too hard to speak. I fought back tears and asked my father, "Who framed you?" Father doesn't know, but this person's reach is very long. The Ministry of Justice, the Court of State Ceremonies, the Inspectorate, they are all his people. My father's case was settled for execution in 1 month. Beheading. Those 2 words were like a knife stabbing into my heart. My mother suddenly grabbed onto something, pulling my hand tightly. Tinglai, go find the prince. You two were together for 2 years after all. He even called your father father-in-law once. He won't just stand by and watch. I opened my mouth, but couldn't speak. I didn't dare tell my mother that Zhao Jishi and I were never in love. On the contrary, I had even harmed him. He probably wishes for this beautiful psycho to suffer. How could he possibly help me? But I couldn't bear to see my mother's hope shattered. I took the golden whip to the prince's manor. I waited from morning until evening. Winter in Jinling is no warmer than in the north. The wind blew in from the river, cutting into my face like a knife. I stood at the manor entrance. The prince's guards wouldn't let me in, so I just stood there waiting until the sun set in the west, until the twilight gathered, until my fingers were frozen numb. Finally, I hear the sound of horse hooves. Zhao Fuyi has returned. He's riding a tall, spirited steed, dressed in a black sable cloak. He spotted me from afar. He swung off his horse. Those dark, ink-like eyes were fixed right on the golden trim in my hand. Which hand did Miss Ju use to whip me? The moment he spoke, I knew I was done for. His voice carried not a trace of warmth. It was as though it came from an ice cellar. I trembled from the cold. My lips wouldn't stop quivering. I suspected he wanted to chop off my hands. Which foot did Miss Ju step on me with? The guards behind him sharply drew their swords. The cold blades flashed brightly. Instinctively, I tried to step back, but my feet were frozen stiff, and at the slightest movement, I fell right into his arms. His chest was burning hot. I couldn't help but think of that night. I remembered how he held me. My eyes turned red despite myself. Bravely, I asked him, "Your Highness, could you please save my father?" He lifted his hand and lazily hooked my cloak's tie, slowly twirling it around. "So you're throwing yourself at me, just to have me save Zhu Guangtai? Very well. I'll give it a try. Let's see if the arrogant Miss Ju has the skill to serve me, and whether it can truly please me." He carried me into the prince's manor. He tossed me onto the bed, then yanked off my white fox cloak. Next, he grabbed my collar. With a ripping sound, the tearing of fabric was especially harsh. "Si Qiyu." Embarrassed and angry, I lashed out. I raised the whip at him. He caught the tip of the whip, jerked it hard, and the golden whip flew from my hand, smashing into the wall and clattering to the ground. "Is this how Miss Ju begs for help?" His voice was as cold as a blade. His gaze was colder still, like the frozen Kinwei River. Towering over me, he stared down at me. There wasn't a shred of warmth in those dark eyes, just a mocking sense of superiority. My hand froze in midair. Suddenly, I realized he was no longer the Qiyu who took my surname. Now he is a prince who could wipe out my whole family with the flick of a finger. "Please me," he said. "If you can satisfy me, perhaps I might be merciful enough to grant Zhu Guangtai a chance to live." I tried to please him, lowering my gaze, my hand unconsciously covering my lower belly. It was still flat there, but I knew there was a tiny life inside. The doctor said the first 3 months are especially delicate. I can't have big mood swings. Can't do any strenuous activity, let alone that sort of thing. But he's my only chance to save my father. So, as unwilling as I was, Jean Fouilly let out a sneering laugh. He got up off of me. I don't like forcing people. You can just wait. I'm prepared to collect Zhu Guangtai's body in a month. I bit my lip hard and hugged him from behind. Wait, I've been willful all 18 years living in Tinglan. Always arrogant, always needing to save face. I've never liked bowing to anyone. I don't want to bleed, but I want my father to live even more. I'll try to please you. My voice was trembling. Zhao Fui turned to face me, looking down at me from above. Go ahead. I didn't really know how to please a man. So I thought for a moment, stood on tiptoe, and clumsily kissed his lips. He just looked at me coldly, as if he was watching a joke. Is that all Miss Zhu can do? I felt both embarrassed and angry. I wanted to pick up the golden whip, but I knew, if I dared grab it now, it would be like putting a blade to my father's neck. I took a deep breath, shut my eyes, and tried to kiss him the way he had kissed me that night, carefully and gently. His breathing suddenly turned rapid. Zhu Tinglu. His voice had changed, was husky and low. Stay away from me. I didn't know what was wrong with him. Instinctively, I wanted to back away, but before I could move a step, he grabbed my waist and pushed me down hard onto the bed. That night, it felt like he had become a different person. No longer the Chiu who let me hit and scold him, not the frosty prince who demanded I please him, but someone almost mad, someone I'd never seen before. Almost insane. Dawn broke. It was still dark out. I woke up. Zhao Fui wasn't on the bed. He was already dressed and ready to leave. Standing in front of the bronze mirror, tying his belt. He looked so noble, like someone not of this world. I stared at him, my eyes stinging and sore. Your Highness, last night I already... The rest of it, I found too awkward to finish. So I changed to, you'll save my father, right? Won't you? When did I ever say? That just because you serve me. I would definitely save Zhu Guangtai. I sat up abruptly, feeling a dull pain in my lower abdomen. What? Besides, do you really think you have what it takes to please me? I understood then. He never intended to save my father. It was all deliberate. Just like how I humiliated him for 2 years. Fighting back tears, and resisting the urge to pick up the golden whip, I bowed my head with all the strength in my body. Your Highness, I'm really begging you. I don't want my father to die. Please save him. Save him, please. He didn't even spare me a single glance. He walked out without looking back. I sat alone for a long time in the empty bedchamber, then slowly picked up my scattered clothes, numbly putting them on. My lower abdomen ached. I covered it with my hand and whispered to my little one, "Don't be afraid, Mama's here." When I stepped out of the bedchamber, I ran right into someone. It was the prince's fiancée, Kui Miaozi. She stood under the corridor, hands holding a hand warmer. She looked like she had just stepped out of a painting. You're the merchant girl that His Highness favored in Jinling, aren't you? Her voice was soft, but every word was like a needle in my heart. She didn't favor me. I corrected her. I was married to her by contract. He's my husband. Husband, I've done my homework. And when His Highness was in Jinling, you treated him terribly. He married you. But did you ever respect him? Did you ever truly care for him? Now that he's a noble prince, you just want to climb up and be close to power, don't you? Is that what he said? The first half is absolutely true, but the second half is not right. I've never respected him, nor have I ever truly admired him. At least not back then. But now it's as if he can see right through me. He pretended to care and said, as long as the prince is willing. I can accept you into the palace as a concubine. I will not become a concubine. After I said that, I dragged my aching body and moved forward. He turned slightly to the side. He turned back to glance at me and walked out of the prince's residence. The morning light of Jinling shone down on me. It was warm and comforting. Suddenly, I crouched down by the roadside and broke down crying. My father is dying soon. Zhao Fuyi despises me, and I'm still carrying little Zhao Lang inside me. I have no idea what to do. Miss Zhu? A gentle voice sounded above my head. I hurriedly wiped away my tears and looked up, stunned. Lu Cheng's was dressed in the robes of a third-rank official, with a silver and jade belt around his waist, riding on a tall, strong chestnut horse.
It's been years since we last met.
He seems even more refined than before. Director Lu, Lord Lu. I stood up right away, suddenly feeling a glimmer of hope. I heard that Lu Cheng's caught the Prime Minister's eye and married his oldest legitimate daughter, climbing quickly to success. Now he's the Minister of Justice, a full third-rank official. My father's case is currently under the Ministry of Justice. Surely he can help. Lord Lu, my father was framed. Can't you help him? My father once gave you money to save your life. For the sake of that favor, it's been 2 years since we last met. Miss Zhu has grown even more charming. Lu Cheng's didn't respond to my plea. Instead, he stared deeply at me, with a slight smile on his lips. His gaze made me very uncomfortable, as if he wanted to devour me whole. Instinctively, I took a step back. He got off his horse and moved closer to me. I've always been fond of Miss Zhu, hoping you could always stay by my side. I was stunned. He had already married the Prime Minister's daughter, yet he dared say such things to me. Lord Lu, you already have a wife. Isn't it normal for a man to have multiple wives and concubines? I can get you a house. You can settle outside for now. I'll come to see you often. Once the time is right, I'll bring you into the household as my favored concubine. A mistress, he wants me to be his mistress. I was so angry I was grinding my teeth, but remembering my father's life was in their hands, I forced myself to endure. I will never be anyone's mistress, Lord Lu. You scholars always say a little kindness should be repaid many times over. My father once gave you a great deal of silver. Now he has been falsely accused and wronged. I am counting on you to help him. The one thing I lack the least right now is money. Lu Cheng's reached out to grab my hand. The only thing I'm missing now is a beautiful woman like Miss Zhu. I yanked my hand back. His expression darkened instantly. Zhu Tingshao, don't be ungrateful. You know exactly who I am now. You know perfectly well. If I want Zhu Guangtang dead, he won't even make it to his execution in a month. I'll give you 2 days. If I don't see you at the Southern Pavilion in 2 days, then get your father's coffin ready early. He got back on his horse and rode away without looking back. I stood rooted to the spot, my hands and feet icy cold. The little Zhao Lang in my belly gently kicked, as if reminding me that I still have him. I trudged home, feeling heavy. My mother had already bought a house in Jinling. It's not as spacious as our old home in Liangzhou, but it's still respectable. As soon as I walked in the door, I saw a dusty young man jump down from a carriage. Sister, it's my younger brother. He's 16 this year, studying at the academy. His teacher says he's gifted. He'll definitely pass the provincial exam next year and rank top 3 in the palace exams the year after. He's said to be the youngest top scholar in the court. But right now, this future top scholar is wearing flashy, colorful clothes, jangling with jade pendants and scented pouches on his belt, and even has a silk flower pinned in his hair. He looks just like a spoiled brat at a temple fair. What are you wearing? I frowned deeply. Sis, I heard from Mom that you're pregnant. Go back to your room and rest. Zhuzha ignored what I said and just helped me inside. I'll figure something out about Dad. You and Mom don't have to worry. What are you planning to do? I heard Princess Yang likes handsome men. I'm thinking of going to her house. Go to her house for what? To become her male companion. I nearly fainted on the spot. Stop it, Zhao. You're a scholar. Your teacher said you're top scholar material. And you want to become someone's boy toy? You don't care about your future? Sis, even male companions can move up. I'm so smart and good looking. So if I stay with Princess Yang, I'll start as her companion, and surely be promoted in time. By then, she help our father, and he'll be saved. Are you crazy? I grabbed his wrist and dragged him into the kitchen. I locked the door with a loud click. Sis, open the door. I'm serious. What's wrong with a man relying on a woman? I sat down against the kitchen door, listening to young Master Ju bang on the door and cry inside. My heart ached and felt warm at the same time. The little boy who used to cry and follow me everywhere has really grown up. Grown up enough to give up his future for our father's life. But I can't let him do that. Seeking out Zhao Fuyi is just humiliating myself. Going to Lu Cheng's, that beast only tried to take advantage of me. But I definitely can't let my brother be a male companion. When it was completely dark, I made up my mind. Golden lanterns swayed in the night breeze, lighting the stone path outside the southern villa. I stood at the gate, my basket holding the banknotes for Lu Cheng's. A total of 100,000 taels. Enough to buy half the streets of Jinling. I knew he didn't lack money, but I simply had nothing else to offer. The door opened and Lu Cheng's greeted me himself. He wore plain white clothes, with his dark hair loose, looking every bit the romantic scholar. Miss Ju, I've waited so long for this day. From now on, you are mine. Come, help me undress. Help your own sister. 100,000 taels is enough for you to buy a whole courtyard of mistresses. Release my father, and all this money is yours. The smile on Lu Cheng's face faded bit by bit. I told you I don't need money. I want your life. He grabbed my wrist tightly, full of malice. He dragged me onto the bed. I struggled desperately trying to push him away, but his strength was astonishing. With one hand he pinned both of my wrists, raised them high above my head and let go of me. Ju Tinglan, he leaned down.
His scorching breath blew against the side of my neck.
Ever since you were 12? I've been infatuated with you. Do you know how much I despise that beggar? Why should he? He's just a beggar. Why should he marry you? Let go of me, Lu Cheng's. You ungrateful traitor. His other hand went to touch my cheek. I kicked at him. He grunted in pain. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes. He raised his hand and slapped me. My ears were ringing from the blow. If you don't drink the toast, you'll get punished instead. Go ahead and keep making a scene. But every time you act up, I'll have someone cut a piece of flesh from Ju Guangtai. I clenched my lips tightly, not daring to move again. He laughed triumphantly. Hanging my head, a wave of nausea surged from my stomach. I couldn't help turning away and dry heaving. Lu Cheng's face instantly turned livid. You find me disgusting. But you willingly let that beggar touch you. When I touch you, you feel sick. He went into a rage.
His fingers dug into my shoulder.
The pain made my tears stream down. Ju Tingyao, let me tell you. It was me who framed your father. His voice sounded like it came from the depths of hell. If I hadn't done that, how would you have come to beg me? How else could I have had you? My mind exploded with a loud bang. It was you who harmed my father. If he hadn't gone to prison, how would you have come to beg me, Tinglan? You belong to me. After tonight, you will be mine. Your father's life is in my hands. Be obedient. Please me properly. And I'll let your father live a few days longer. All the blood in my body turned cold. So it was him behind all of this. He had his eyes on me for 3 years. First, he failed to snatch the embroidered ball. Then he watched me marry a beggar. These past few years, he's risen step by step. From a poor scholar to the Vice Minister of Justice. He wasn't willing to let go, so he had to ruin my father, and then ruin me. I clenched my teeth tightly. Tears burst from my eyes. Go ahead and curse me. The more you curse, the happier I get. He reached for my collar. I closed my eyes in despair. At that moment, a loud bang erupted. The door was kicked open and flew off its hinges. Cold wind and night mist rushed in. My whole body shook violently like flames. I opened my eyes and saw someone standing at the door. It was Zhao Fuyi. Lu Cheng's clearly didn't expect it, that Zhao Fuyi would come. Your Highness? He suddenly sprung up off me, his feet barely steady. Zhao Fuyi kicked him hard in the chest. Lu Cheng's flew sideways and crashed into the wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Zhao Fuyi didn't pause at all and stomped his foot on Lu Cheng's face, looking down on him from above, his voice cold as millennial ice. Even my people you dare to touch. Lu Cheng's writhed on the ground twice, forcing himself to look up, blood all over his mouth. Your Highness, didn't you already give him up? Besides, Miss Zhu agreed to be my concubine. Concubine? Zhao Fuyi was infuriated and kicked him hard in the face. As long as I don't write a divorce letter, he is still mine. Touching my people is courting death. Lu Cheng's lost 2 teeth.
He curled up on the ground, twitching.
Zhao Fuyi withdrew his foot, turned to me, then looked me over from above. My clothes were torn to shreds. Most of my hair scattered down, a palm print on my face, red marks on my neck. I was in complete disarray. He took off his black sable cloak and draped it over my shoulders, bent down and carried me out in his arms. I nestled in his embrace, hearing the sound of his heartbeat. It was fast and heavy, not at all like the calm heartbeat of a composed man. What's wrong with you? I buried my face against his chest and asked quietly. He didn't answer. As we reached the door, he suddenly stopped and gave orders to his bodyguard behind him. Cut off Lu Cheng's
tongue.
If you dare touch my people. There's no need for your tongue. My heart trembled. I suddenly opened my eyes.
He lowered his eyes and glanced at me.
In those dark eyes wasn't coldness, nor disdain, but like a wounded beast trapped, desperately holding on to something. You still haven't answered me. I don't have to answer you. He looked away and strode towards the palace. You refused to save me. I can understand about my father. But why did you come to save me? I pressed on, refusing to give up. You have already abandoned me. My life or death has nothing to do with you. His steps faltered slightly. His jawline tensed up. Zhu Tingyao. Say one more word, and I'll leave you here. I shut my mouth, not because I was afraid he'd leave me, but because I heard a catch in his voice. The Zhao Fuyi who never got angry, never felt sorrow, never let anyone see his weakness. What is wrong with him today? Zhao Fuyi carried me back to the palace. He walked extremely fast all the way. The black sable cloak wrapped me tightly. I buried my face in his chest, not daring to look up. Not out of fear, but because I kept thinking about one thing. Why did he come? Hadn't he already abandoned me? Didn't he hate me? I whipped him every day for 2 years. Made him sleep in the woodshed or the mill. Treated him like an animal. He should have wanted Lu Cheng's to ruin me, and for my family to be destroyed. But he still came, and arrived just in time. As if he already knew Lu Cheng's would harm me. This thought kept turning in my head, yet I couldn't figure it out. When we arrived at the palace chambers, Zhao Fuyi set me down on the bed and turned to leave. I grabbed his sleeve. Wait. He stopped, didn't turn around. You still haven't answered me. Words. What words? How did you know I went to Lu Cheng's villa? How did you know what he wanted to do to me? I don't need to answer you. He shook off my hand. Zhao Fian. For the first time, I called him by his full name. My voice was very loud. It echoed back and forth in the empty palace hall. He really stopped. He turned around and looked at me. The candlelight glowed on his face. I couldn't quite make out his expression, but his eyes were burning bright. Just like in the pitch-dark night, 2 flames were lit. You want to know? He slowly moved back in front of me, approaching step by step. Every step carried a sense of oppression. I didn't retreat. I placed people at your side. Since the day I left Jinling, someone has been watching you in secret. Wherever you went, whoever you met, whatever you said, I've known it all. I was completely stunned. Then why didn't you save him? You know everything, so why didn't you save my father? You clearly had the power to save him. Zhao Fuyi looked at me. In those dark eyes, swirled emotions I couldn't understand. Because I didn't want to. It felt like someone poured a bucket of ice water over my head. I was chilled from head to toe. Why? My voice trembled uncontrollably. Because I hate you. I hate you for whipping me. I hate you for making me sleep in the woodshed. I hate you for painting while standing on my back. I hate you for crushing my dignity beneath your feet. Did you think I would forget? I remember it all, every single day. He raised his hand. With his fingertips, he softly traced the light scar on his left cheek. That scar was left by my golden whip. That day, because you were upset that the Prime Minister's daughter was getting married on the way, and your mood was off, you whipped me 23 times. All the other wounds healed, except for this one, which left a scar. Suddenly my tears welled up. I'm sorry. Zhao Fuyi smiled faintly. The smile was barely there, so faint it was almost impossible to see. Does I'm sorry make things right? Zhu Tingyan, what you owe me is not something a simple sorry can repay. He turned and left. This time I didn't hold him back. I sat on the couch, wrapped in the black sable cloak he left behind, and cried the whole night. The next morning, Zhao Fuyi's personal guard delivered a letter. There was only one line, the final meeting. Those 4 words were like a knife, piercing the softest part of my heart. I immediately followed the guard out of the prince's manor. The carriage sped toward the prison. It finally stopped in front of the Ministry of Justice jail. My father was locked in the innermost cell. When I entered, he was sitting against the wall, eyes closed as if he were asleep. I called out, "Father." He instantly opened his eyes. When he saw me, a spark lit up in his cloudy eyes. "Tinglan, why are you here?" He struggled to stand up, but his legs were no longer strong. He barely managed to stand, holding onto the wall. "Did you come alone? Where's your mother?" "Mother is at home." I didn't tell her. "Dad, what's wrong with your leg?" "It's nothing. I just fell a couple of days ago." He brushed it off lightly. But I noticed blood seeping faintly through his pants. My heart ached. I nearly burst into tears again, but I forced myself to hold back. I can't cry in front of my father. He would worry. "Dad, I found the person who framed you." "Who was it?" "Lu Cheng's." My father closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. I already guessed it. The day he wanted to visit me, I already felt something was wrong.
He's in charge of my case at the Ministry of Justice.
So why would he come see me for no reason? He came just to show off. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll make sure to get you out of here." "Tinglan, you don't need to save me. I just want you to promise me one thing." "What is it?" "Leave well. Take care of your mother and your brother." My life has been worth it. Spent most of my life doing business. Saved up a mountain of gold and silver. Married your mother. Had you and Zhao Yao. I have no regrets. Finally, my father's tears fell anyway. "Don't cry. There's something I want to ask you." "About that King Zhao. Is he good to you or not?" I didn't know how to answer. Just yesterday, he said he hated me, wasn't he? But last night he rushed through the night to save me and ordered his men to cut out Lu Cheng's tongue. I don't know. My father studied me closely for a moment, as if he had seen through everything. Seems like the one I let down most in my life is him. He is a prince, the blood of the late emperor. It was a huge injustice for him to end up living among the commoners. And then he was still humiliated in our family. I couldn't protect you. And I couldn't protect him either. I have regrets in my heart. Dad, go tell him for me. Zhu Guangtai is sorry to him. If he has any anger, let him take it out on me, not on you. I instinctively covered my stomach. My father saw the gesture. Suddenly, tears welled up in his eyes. You're pregnant. I nodded. My father's lips trembled for a long time. And finally, he just said, take good care of yourself. He didn't ask whose child it was. He already knew in his heart. The time was up. The jailer came to rush us. He said time was up. But I wouldn't let go of my father's hand. He peeled my fingers off, one by one. Go now, Tiao, don't look back. I left, turning to look back at every step. When I reached the corner, I turned my head for one last look. My father was still standing there, holding the wall, gazing in my direction. He was as thin as a withered stick. But in my memories, he would always be the father who carried me on his shoulders and took me to see lanterns by the Kinwei River. I ran out of the Ministry of Justice prison, crying. The sunlight was so harsh I couldn't open my eyes. I stood in front of the ministry prison, my tears still not dry. Then I heard a muffled drumbeat in the distance. It was the execution drum. All the blood in my body instantly turned to ice. No! I stumbled desperately in the direction of the execution grounds. My skirt tripped me up, and I fell to the ground. My knees were scraped and bleeding. Blood was seeping out. I couldn't care less anymore. I got up and kept running. I couldn't hear anything along the way. All I could hear was my own heart pounding wildly in my chest. The execution was set at Keishiku in the west of the city. By the time I arrived, the place was already packed with people. Like someone possessed, I shoved through the crowd trying to get inside. All around me were buzzing voices and whispers. Zhu Guangtai, the richest man in Jinling. Who would have thought he'd end up like this? I heard he was framed for treason against the imperial court. A crime beyond forgiveness. He built such a great family fortune for nothing. I squeezed my way to the very front row. My father was kneeling on the execution platform. His prison uniform was tattered and filthy.
His hair was a wild, tangled mess.
He looked so thin, he was almost like a sheet of paper. His eyes were staring off into the distance. I rushed forward, but two guards grabbed me and held me back tightly. My father saw me. Suddenly, tears welled up in his burning eyes. He opened his mouth. It seemed like he wanted to say something. But nothing came out. He only shook his head. I understood what he meant. Don't come closer, don't watch, just leave. Dad, say something. You're innocent.
Tell them.
You're innocent. No one paid any attention to me. The execution official sat high above on the platform. He raised and then lowered the command token in his hand. At the appointed time, the execution began. The executioner raised the guillotine blade. The blade flashed with a chilling glare in the sunlight. I struggled with all my might to rush forward. My nails dug into the guard's arm. I even lost a shoe. But they stood in front of me like walls. No. The moment the blade fell, I couldn't see anything anymore. Everything went black. Every sound vanished from my ears. It was as if someone had hit pause on the whole world. Then I heard a dull thud, like something heavy dropping to the ground. And my heart shattered with it. My father was dead. The man who used to carry me on his shoulders to watch lanterns. Who gave me golden whips. Who let me be spoiled and willful for 18 years was gone. I didn't cry. I just stared straight at the execution platform. At the figure lying in a pool of blood. At his prison clothes soaked in blood. The executioner wiping the blade with a blank expression. I memorized every face present that day. The execution official, the executioner. Those gossiping, clapping onlookers. And Jia Fui. He was standing on a carriage in the distance. Tall and straight as a pine. Staring at me through the crowd. He didn't come to save my father. He clearly could have. But he didn't. I glanced at him. Just a glance, then resolutely turned away. It was Zhu Zhaoyi who gathered my father's remains. He knelt by the execution platform, his eyes red from crying. He turned to look at my father. Dad is gone. I walked forward slowly and hugged him. He broke down in sobs, crying like a 3-year-old child. I still didn't shed a tear. I had run out of tears long before that day. My father's coffin was placed in the house we bought in Jinling. My mother had fainted from crying 3 times already. Zhu Zhaoyi was kneeling in front of the memorial burning paper offerings. I stood at the doorway, watching people come and go offering condolences. Zhao Fuyi was nowhere in sight. He never came, not even once. On the day of the funeral, it poured rain, as if heaven itself was weeping. Zhu Zhaoyi and I, one on each side, supporting my mother as we followed behind the coffin. My mother's voice was completely hoarse from crying. Zhu Zhaoyi wasn't crying anymore. His face was as hard as raw iron. His eyes were red and bloodshot. The moment the coffin was buried, I turned around to look one last time. Under a pagoda tree in the distance, there was a jet-black carriage parked there. Someone was sitting inside. Zhao Fuyi, I stared in that direction. And finally, tears flooded out of my eyes. I ran over there, right into the curtain of rain, right up to that carriage. Are you here to laugh at me? I looked up at him. Rain and tears blended down my face. Are you satisfied now? My father is dead. The Zhu family is ruined. You got your revenge. He sat in the carriage, looking at me without moving at all. Zhu Tinglan. Don't call my name. You're not worthy, Zhao Feiyan. I hate you. I hate you even more than Lu Cheng's. Lu Cheng's hurt my father openly. You did nothing and let him die. You could have saved him. You just refused to do it. You used my father's life to repay the grievances you suffered in the Zhu family. With your resentment, you wiped out everything between us. From now on, we go our separate ways. I, Zhu Tinglan, have nothing to do with you, Zhao Fu, anymore. I turned around and left. The rain fell even heavier. I heard the sound of the carriage wheels rolling over the stone road behind me, growing more and more distant, until finally swallowed up by the rain. I never looked back. After that, my mother fell ill. The doctor said it was because of overwhelming grief. It hurt her vitality. I stayed by her bedside, decocting medicine and feeding her, taking care of my mother. Zhu Zhaoyi returned to the academy. He said he wanted to study hard, to become the top scholar, to clear our father's name. I didn't stop him. I stroked my slightly rounded belly, a mix of bitterness and pain in my heart. Little Zhao, your grandpa is gone, and your father, consider him gone as well. You have no father. I didn't want to return to our old house in Lilingzhou. I was afraid that if I returned to that familiar place, I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I stayed with my mother in Jinling. I locked the golden whip away at the bottom of a chest. I didn't want to see it anymore. Days dragged on, one after another, and my belly grew bigger every day. Eventually my mother noticed. Who's the child's father? I didn't answer. She probably guessed, and didn't ask again. When I was 6 months pregnant, I could hardly bend down anymore. Every evening, I'd go to the market at the end of our alley to buy groceries. One day I ran into someone I knew at the market. It was Xiao Fuyi. Standing next to him was that Qingwei guard, the same guard who once drew his sword at me. He stood behind a candied hawthorn stall. As soon as he saw me, he lowered his head, pretending to pick out candied hawthorns, acting like he hadn't seen me. I walked right past him. He didn't follow me. But from that day on, I noticed there were a few new things at home. The rice jar was always full. There were vegetables in the basket that I never bought. Sometimes a pack of pastries would be left on the steps at the door. I threw them all away. I didn't know if Xiao Fuyi ordered someone to do it, or if that guard acted on his own. I didn't want to know. My father was dead. He just watched and did nothing. These things can't bring my father back. When I was 8 months pregnant, I was in the yard, drying the quilt in the courtyard. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. My mother rushed out from inside the house. Junyan, what's wrong? It's nothing, mother, just hurts a little. My mother couldn't relax. She called a doctor. The doctor said the baby's position was a bit off. He advised me to walk more, but I mustn't overexert myself. After the doctor left, I noticed a man standing outside the courtyard gate. He was wearing coarse clothes and a bamboo hat pulled low over his face, pulled down very low, so I couldn't see his face clearly, but I recognized his figure. Zhao Fuyi, my heart skipped a beat. Then it quickly turned cold. Why are you here? I stood in the yard, looking at him across the threshold. He took off his hat, revealing a thin, gaunt face. It had been 3 months since we last met.
He looked much more haggard.
I've come to see you. Have you seen enough? If you have, you can leave. He didn't move. He stared at my prominently rounded belly.
His gaze fixed on it.
He couldn't look away. Your belly.
His voice trembled.
It has nothing to do with you. I said coldly. Ju Tinglan, tell me the child. I cut him off. It's Lu Chenzi's. That day at the other residence. Before you arrived. You know that clearly. My voice was exceptionally calm. So calm it felt strange even to me. Zhao Fuyi's face turned deathly pale. As white as winter snow. You're lying. I'm not lying. I turned away, so he couldn't see my expression. Think back to the dates carefully. Before you left for Jinaling, did I ever come to you state? No. I got pregnant after you left. In the time you were gone. Other than Lu Chengde, who else could it be? Every word I said was a lie. Matters as private as periods. How could a man remember them clearly? But he believed me. I saw him clench his fist tightly. His knuckles creaked from the force. His eyes turned red.
His lips trembled.
He couldn't utter a single word, you and him. I've already told you. It has nothing to do with you. I faced away from him. My tears fell silently, but my voice didn't tremble at all. Zhao Feiqing said, you used my father's life to take revenge on me. And now I'm carrying another man's child. We're even now. Don't come back again. I heard his footsteps. He walked away slowly, step by step, until the sound faded. I turned around. The doorway was empty. I squatted down, hugged my stomach, and cried, shaking all over. Little cockroach, I'm sorry. Sorry that mommy lied to him. I didn't mean to. I can't let him come back just because of a child. He's the one who caused your grandpa's death. I do hate him, but I hate myself even more. Because deep down, I still care about him. The day my child was born was early fall. Osmanthus fragrance filled the streets of Jinling. I was in labor for a whole day and night before my son was born. Congratulations, congratulations. It's a big, healthy boy. 7 pounds, 8 ounces. My mother took the baby, tears streaming endlessly. Sis, he's so tiny. I said you were this small when you were born. Miss, who does he look like? I studied the baby's face, and my heart ached. He looks like Zhao Fuyi. Those eyebrows and the shape of his lips. That expression when he's pouting unhappily. It's exactly like his father. Even the servants have no idea who the father is. Nor does my mother. I don't plan to tell them. I named the baby Zhao Shaoling. Unwilling to let go. Unwilling to let go of who? I'm afraid to think about it. On his first month celebration, I sat alone in the courtyard with him in my arms, sunbathing. A carriage suddenly stopped at the entrance. Kui Miaozi got off the carriage. He had come alone, standing at the doorway. His gaze at me was very complicated. Miss Zhu, may I come in? I didn't know why he was here, but I nodded anyway. He stepped in, glanced at the child in my arms. He froze on the spot. He just blurted out one word, looks like me, asking the obvious, like who? He glanced at me, but didn't answer. Instead, he sat down. He pulled a letter from his sleeve and placed it on the table. What's this? Take a look first. I didn't move. Miss Zhu, Kui Miaozi sighed. Why do you resent the prince so much? He never did anything to wrong you. I said he stood by and did nothing. He watched while my father was executed. Kui Miaozi fell silent for a moment and said that Zhu Guangtai isn't dead. I looked up sharply. What did you say? Zhu Guangtai isn't dead. He faked his death. My mind exploded with a buzz.
Impossible.
I saw it with my own eyes, you. I saw the executioner's blade fall with my own eyes. I saw the blood splatter, saw your father's head separated from his body. But that was just a death row criminal arranged by the prince. The real Zhu Guangtai, before he was brought to the execution ground, had already been secretly whisked away by the prince. My hands were shaking violently. You're lying to me. Why would I lie to you? What would I gain from lying to you? Why did he do this? Why didn't he tell me? Kui Miaozi took a deep breath. He said it was because of the crown prince. The prince's older brother had been secretly plotting rebellion all along. Zhao Fukong found out about it. So he conspired with the emperor, even faked a death, disguised himself as a beggar, secretly investigated from the shadows. Later he discovered the crown prince was recruiting soldiers, desperately needed huge sums of silver. So he set his sights on the Zhu family fortune. That was why he had Lu Cheng's frame your father. Threw your father in prison, just so he could lawfully confiscate the Zhu family estate. So the prince decided to go along with the plan, and made your father fake his death. The crown prince believed your father was really dead. The Zhu family had fallen. All that wealth became ownerless, so he could secretly take it and use it to supply his army. When he moved it, the prince's people could catch him red-handed, take him down in one shot. The reason the prince didn't tell you the truth is that if you knew, you wouldn't hate him anymore. If you didn't hate him, the crown prince would get suspicious, might pull back, and all the prince's years of planning would be wasted. My mind was a complete mess. Kui Miaozi's voice dropped. Miss Zhu, do you know how the prince has been these past months? How he's gotten through it? Every time he sneaked a look at you, he'd go home and drown himself in drink all night. He watched you, going out shopping with your belly out, watching you. You threw away what he had someone cut and put in the vegetable basket. You looked at his people and told them to get out. My tears dripped one by one onto the baby's swaddling clothes. Kui Miaozi said, the prince forbade me from telling you this. He said he owes you. If you hate him, he probably deserves it. But I can't bear to watch you both go on like this. Why are you willing to help me? Because I too have someone I love. He's stationed on the border in Beijing. I can only see him once a year. I know how it feels to want to see someone, but you can't. The pain of wanting to speak, but you can't. Kui Miaozi gave a bitter smile. He stood up and walked to the door. He glanced back at me. The prince is currently at an estate outside the city. The eldest prince fought back before his death. The prince was stabbed in the chest. He was gravely injured and has remained unconscious. The imperial physician said the stab wounded his heart meridian. Whether he can pull through or not. My heart suddenly clenched in pain. Just how serious is his injury? The imperial physician just shook his head and said that even if Hua Tu were alive,
He might not be able to save him.
After Kui Miaozi finished speaking, he got into the carriage and left without looking back. I sat stiffly in the courtyard with Jiao Shaoleng in my arms for a long time. Then I stood up and handed the child to my mother. Mom, I'm going out for a bit. Where to? To find the child's father. That estate outside the city was incredibly remote, hidden deep in a mountain hollow. Bamboo forests surrounded the area. By the time I arrived, it was already getting dark. The door to the estate was ajar, and no one was guarding the door. I pushed the door open and entered. Fallen leaves covered the courtyard. It looked like no one had swept here in ages. The main hall doors were wide open. A strong medicinal smell drifted out. I walked inside and saw the guards standing watch. Zhao Fuyi was lying on the bed. His face was ashen pale, his lips totally bloodless. A thick bandage was wrapped around his chest. Underneath, a large patch of dark red blood had seeped through. His eyes were closed, as if he had sunk into a deep sleep. I stood by his bedside, staring at him. There was an old cloth strip tied around his knuckles. I recognized that strip, it was mine. When I was 8 months pregnant, I was hanging bedding in the courtyard and carelessly tugged it out of my sleeve. I threw it casually in the courtyard. I didn't know when he'd ended up picking it up. I sat down on the edge of his bed and reached out to hold his hand. It was ice cold, like a stone in winter. Zhao Feiyang. My voice trembled uncontrollably. You lied to me. He didn't respond. You said you hated me. You said you didn't want to save my father. You lied about everything. You hid my father away. You carried all of this on your own. You made me hate you for more than half a year. Zhao Fuyi, are you stupid? He still didn't respond. I lay down on the edge of the bed and buried my face in his palm, crying my heart out. That night I didn't leave. I had the estate maid bring me a chair and stayed right by his bedside. I changed his medicine, washed him, and fed him. He couldn't swallow, so I used a spoon to pry his teeth open one spoonful at a time and gently fed the medicine in. The first day he didn't wake up. The second day, he still didn't wake up. The third, fourth, and fifth days too. Every day I kept talking to him. About when we first met. About how he made me so mad. About how I used to hide outside the woodshed and secretly watch him fall asleep. About the first time I made him longevity noodles. Zhao Fuyi, do you still remember? The first time you tasted my noodles. Did you finish them all? It was a big full bowl. You even drank every last drop of soup. You said no one had ever made noodles just for you before. You cried, but insisted it was sweat. If you wake up, I'll make them for you again. This time I'll do it more carefully, so you won't have such a hard time chewing. Zhao doesn't fit. Zhao Nian doesn't fit either. I named him Zhao Shaolang. Zhao Shaolang can call Dad now. You've never heard him call you Dad. Wake up. Let him call you Dad. It'll definitely make you happy. On the 6th and 7th days, the imperial physician came to check on him. After examining his pulse, he shook his head and sighed that the prince's wounds were simply too severe.
His heart meridian is damaged.
I'm too old and powerless to save him. Whether he can pull through or not, all depends on fate. It's all up to fate. Fate again. I despise those words. On the 8th night, I was utterly exhausted. I fell asleep by his bed. I had a dream. In the dream, Zhao Fuyi stood under the embroidered tower, wearing those tattered clothes, looking up at me with his face, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. He said, Ju Tinglan, the embroidered ball you tossed. The prince, caught it. I said, you're just a beggar. Why call yourself prince?
He said, because I've waited for this day far too long.
Then he reached out and said, come home with me. I reached out for his hand. But just before our fingers touched, the dream shattered. I woke up to find that someone was holding my hand tightly, gripping it hard. It was already warm. I suddenly looked up. Zhao Fuyi was looking right at me, his eyes half open, incredibly weak. But the light in his eyes made me instantly burst into tears. Zhao Feiyi. His voice was soft as a whisper. You're awake. You're really awake. You are too noisy. It's impossible for me not to wake up. He faintly curved his lips. Do you know you've been asleep for 8 whole days? The imperial physician said you'd never wake up. I heard him. I heard you crying. I heard you talking. I heard you say you'd make noodles for me. I thought if I just died like this, you'd cry your heart out. I couldn't bear it. Liar. You really weren't going to wake up. I was the one who brought you back. Yeah, you woke me up. His knuckles twitched a little, and he held my hand tightly. Ju Tinglan, feels like I owe you my life again. You still owe me a lot more. I'll pay you back slowly, he said. Would a lifetime be enough? Not enough. Then 2 lifetimes. Zhao Fuyi recovered extremely slowly. The imperial physician said his heart meridian was wounded. He'd need at least half a year of recovery. I stayed to take care of him, changing his bandages every day, making medicine and feeding him meals. Sometimes the pain got so bad, sweat beaded all over his forehead. But he never uttered a sound. When Zhao Shaolang turned 3 months old, I brought him before Zhao Fuyi for the first time. Zhao Fuyi took the baby, his hands trembling. He stared at Zhao Zhaolang's little face. He watched for a long time. Then he asked something that made me both laugh and cry. He really belongs to me. If he's not yours, whose could he be? You actually believe Lu Cheng's nonsense? At that time, I was in unbearable pain. I hadn't thought things through. You're just foolish. Yeah, I'm foolish. He held Zhao Shaolang up in front of him. He carefully examined that little face. He said, Zhao Shaolang, your mother says you look like me, but I think you're better looking than him. Zhao Feiyi, he laughed. Another month passed. Zhao Fuyi had almost fully recovered. He sent someone to Qingzhou to bring Zhu Guantai back. When Zhu Guantai returned to Jinling, I was holding Zhao Shaolang, standing at the gates of the prince's manor, waiting for the carriage to stop. My father stepped out of the carriage. When he saw me, tears streamed down his face. Tinglan, Dad? He walked up to me, patting the top of my head. His hand was very warm. Then he saw Zhao Shaolang. His eyes truly lit up. This is Zhao Shaolang, your grandson. Zhu Guantai took the child, held him in his arms, and cried like a child genius. That evening, Zhao Fuyi prepared a family banquet at the manor. My mother, Zhou Zhao, and Zhu Guantai were all there. Kui Miaozi also came, along with the general who came back from Beijing with him. Zhu Zhao had a few cups of wine, his cheeks flushed, and patted the table as he said, Brother-in-law, let me toast you. Hey, brother-in-law. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, he is my brother-in-law. Sis, do you want to marry someone else? Shut up. Brother-in-law, see, she's still this fierce. Zhao Fuyi raised his wine cup, a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. That's exactly what I like about her fierceness. Zhu Zhao was left speechless. My mother laughed. Zhu Guantai laughed too. One spring, Zhao Fuyi was granted the title Prince and I became Princess and later, I learned, Lu Cheng's went mad in the Dali Temple prison. He killed himself by running into a wall. I didn't go see him, because I was busy with my wedding. On the wedding day, the streets of Jinling were empty, everyone had come to see. I wore a phoenix headdress and red wedding robes. He wore a bright red groom's robe. He held my hand as we bowed to the heavens, to the elders, and entered the bridal chamber. The maids withdrew. The door was closed. The red candles flickered. He lifted my bridal veil and gazed at me. Ju Tinglan. Yeah. Do you know what I'm most grateful for in my life? What is it? It's the wind that day, he said. If it weren't for that wind blowing the embroidered ball off course, you would have married someone else. I snuggled into his arms and laughed. That wasn't the wind. Then what was it? It was fate. He lowered his head, his forehead touching mine, his voice so low it was like a whisper. I have no regrets in this life. I closed my eyes, a slight smile on my lips. I have no regrets, either. Outside the window, the lantern lights of the Qinwei River reflected on the window lattice, flickering on and off, as if stars from the sky had fallen into the human world. Zhao Shaolang was being soothed to sleep by the wet nurse in another room. He knew nothing, but he would grow up and know that his father is Prince N, his mother is Princess Anne. His father was once a beggar, and his mother once was Jinling's most pampered girl. After all the twists and turns, they still ended up together. Just as Zhao Fuyi said, it wasn't the wind, it was fate.